Okay, so now what we're at is the most important thing in developing a turf. We can do all the other stuff, but if we don't have grass there to grow, we're getting nowhere, all right? So now we're down to grass seed. Now, it's really pretty simple. We just have to determine whether you're shady, whether you're sunny, whether you're mixed, or whether you are going to take a path of low fertilization and not put a lot of effort in. That'll dictate to us the type of turf that we want to develop. What do you have? Shady, sunny?
We have both.
You have both.
We have some areas that are just full sun, and we have some areas where we have large trees that don't get very much sun.
Okay. Well, then what I'm going to recommend that we use is the special mix. The special mix that we blend is high in bluegrass, which is your sun-type seed. It's about 37% bluegrass, about 36% creeping red fescue, which is shade tolerant. Then it has about 15%. I'll tell you what. Let's take a look. All grass seed all have a recipe on it. Has to. And this is what you need to learn to look for in seed. So in this, yes, there is 37% Kentucky Blue. There's 36% creeping red or red fescue, creeping type. 25% perennial rye. Now, between these two seeds, your bluegrass and your fescues, they put up a shoot, and then they put out rhizomes. They thicken themselves. So eventually that main shoot is going to die, but over the course of a few years, but the other rhizomes have come up and thickened it up. Perennial rye now is only going to put up a shoot, okay, and it has very little capability of creating the rhizomes. So it too, after a 3-4 year period, will eventually fade away. So if somebody did all perennial rye, they'd have to incorporate that every couple of years they're going to want to be doing reseeding, otherwise they're going to lose their turf. Okay? In my mind, it says, let's develop a long-lasting type grass and feed it, not reseed it. Okay?
And I would assume that my weeds would be under control a little better too, just from the seed developing.
Right. What happens is weeds only grow where they're given room to grow. So the thicker the turf that we can maintain, the less likely we have a weed issue. You still, every now and then, you're going to get a good crop of a dandelion, or we've experienced some bad cases of crabgrass because of timing of chemicals. It wasn't perfect when they went down. That's all right. We can deal with them, and we'll as that step happens, we'll tell you what you need to do.
Okay.
So anyways, but this seed I would choose because it'll cover both sun and shade. So you get a real nice blend when you're going from your shady areas into your sunny. You don't have a big contrast of a different looking turf.
Okay.
Okay? So we can do that. If somebody had a full shady area, of course we got shade seed, higher in the fescues. A low maintenance type seed, where it tells me that the people aren't going to do as much fertilization as I want them to, and we can get them into this. What it is the type of seeds that are need lower maintenance, so it's what they call turf type tall fescues. Okay? But in your case, we don't need to go there. We're going to use this. Now, the next part that everybody probably falls short in doing, that is grass seed, just like seed that a farmer puts in, a corn seed. It needs to be in the soil, not laying on top. Best way I explain this to most people is if the farmer could lay his corn seed on top of the soil, and that's all he had to do, that's what he would do, because his job would be so much easier. Just like grass seed, it's got to be planted in the soil. So, what you need to do is soil preparation if we're going to do any seeding. We have a couple tools to help in that. The one is called a power thatcher or a power rake. This tool here will rake up the turf, brings up all the weak stuff. You rake off that with a bag. You can bag it with your lawnmower or rake it off. And then what you've done with it, this tool is creating little grooves in the soil for the seed to fall in and then it'll cover over so that it has a place to germinate.
Now, can I rent this tool?
Yes, we rent this tool at the garden center here, but a lot of rental stores around Maine, if you're not from, around one of our stores, Mendham or Chester or Annandale, New Jersey.
Okay. And the name of that tool again was?
A power rake.
A power rake.
Or
okay.
thatcher.
Okay.
All right. Now, there's another tool, there's a couple other tools that we don't have that can be from rental places. There's one that they call a seed slicer. What it is a tool similar to the power rake, but it has a hopper in front of it that will slice the soil and feed the grass down into the soil. You can rent one of those tools. You can also rent what they call a spiker. What it is a tool that you can hook on behind your tractor, and it pokes a bunch of little holes in the ground so that the seed can fall into that and then hopefully germinate.
So it sounds like depending on the size of your lawn and the area that you want to reseed, you would just buy or rent an appropriate tool.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's a small area, we can also use our garden rake, all right, to rake those areas up real good, scratch it up, and then seed if it's a small area.
Okay, so if I just have spots that I'm going to reseed, I could just use a garden rake.
Exactly, exactly. Now, one other thing that a lot of people talk about, have you ever seen the golf courses use it? It's a plugger machine. It draws plugs out of the soil. Have you ever seen that tool used?
No, I haven't.
Okay. What I want to do is just explain, in case, is that what it is what they call a core aerator. It's really not meant for seeding because it pulls too deep of a plug out for the seed to fall down. Grass seed only wants to be no deeper than 1/4 of an inch in the soil. Deeper than that, it probably won't germinate. All right?
So if you put seed down and you just use the rake, are you going to have to put soil on top of that seed?
No. If you just scratch it up with the rake, and then if you can lightly rake back over it, you're good to go. The seed will fall down into the little crevices that the rake has generated.
Okay.
All right? But I want to talk about that core aerator because that's what it is an aerator. It's basically designed, the golf courses mainly use it because they get such a thick turf and the roots get so thick that it's going down and pulling a plug out so that air can get down around those roots, oxygen. Okay, that's what's going on with that.
Okay.
So now, I think we've covered, we forgot about one other thing. Let's move right a little bit over here. What we're going to want to do is, after we have seeded our lawn, what we're going to want to do then is put down some type of a mulch on top. They have in the marketplace a product that's called pen mulch. It's ground up old newspaper into a pellet that dissolves the moisture and just kind of creates a covering, a little blanket for the grass.
Okay.
That is a possibility that you can use. The other thing, though, is hay. And I want to stress this. We all call it mulch hay, and everybody in the industry says, it has weed seeds. Well, it really depends on where that farmer's getting that off the fields. All right, so you need to ask that from us. We know that our hay is coming from a farmer that's producing grass for horses, and it's hay that just didn't come out right, so we end up with that. But the other part of it is why hay over another product called straw is we want to take this hay and we want to just spread it ever so thinly on the ground, all right, so that we just create a light blanket.
Okay.
This way, what you're able to do is once the grass starts growing up through it, you start mowing it, that will disappear.
Oh, so I don't have to rake it off.
No. If the trouble with raking, if the grass comes up through that and you rake it off, the roots are so not planted yet in the soil, you're going to be pulling a lot of grass seed out.
So how long should I wait before I mow my new grapes?
Once it gets up to, I would say, about 2 inches, you might want to start mowing it. A lot of times what you might do in the areas that's new, throttle the mower deck down to about half throttle.
Okay.
Try not to bag it, just let it go out, and let it mature.
Okay.
Okay? So I think we've covered it all. We've got the soil, we've covered the fertilization, we've got the moisture things talked about, and we got the grass seed. So we can put this plan into effect, and then we're going to keep working it and monitoring it and changing it as the things develop.
Okay, so it looks to me like I need to go home and get some soil samples.
There you go.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you for all your information.
Okay.
I appreciate all your time.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Well, that was a good stop at Mendham Garden Center to find out all that information. Now that I know what I'm supposed to do, I better go home and get started.